Hola, me llamo Joe. Esta la cerca de vinil. Bradford. Was it just cerca vinil or cerca? Well, is that what you say? Or you say cerca de vinil? Hola, me llamo Joe. Esta. No, now I lost. Hola, me llamo Joe. Esta cerca de vinil de Bradford. yeah, right. Perfect. All right, so we're doing this vinyl picket, but with it, these pickets or these holes in the rail are cut at a specific distance. Here it's 1 3/4 inches. So with that, we have to be very strategic on how far we set our posts apart, because if we set our post at an odd spacing and it throws off our picket spacing, it could make it all jacked up. So you can see this is actually one of our cut sections. We had to move this post because of the roots of this tree. And you can see when we laid it out, we actually made specific notes of the distance that we needed to set these posts in order to work with our pickets. So you can see they pulled 2 pickets out and then cut it at the appropriate length to fit here. And then now the way we've mapped it out, you can see once it's in, it gives us the correct spacing between the post and the pickets. And then obviously these are set spacing, but then the correct spacing on each end between the picket and the post. And so yeah, our process for that is we start with what the distance would be for a full section, and then we determine exactly what a space and a picket would be, and then we try to go down or adjust down specifically in a distance that's divisible by 1 space and 1 picket width. And in this case, those are 3-inch pickets and 1 3/4 inch spacing. So we try to adjust by that 4 3/4 amount, either up or down, to get the correct space. All right, so here at the gate is a really good example of us having to do prior planning and strategy for a section that is going to be less than a full section, but so we need to make sure our spacing is right. But we have a couple of constraints here. We have this sidewalk and a latch post that has to be right here at the edge of this sidewalk, but then we've got a certain distance from here to the house, and we can't leave too much of a gap between the house. So now if we would have just randomly thrown this post here by the sidewalk and this one all the way up against the house, it could have screwed up our spacing. So what we did here is we looked at our panels, we did our math to figure out the ideal spacing. Then we knew we had to be here for the gate, so we started here and set it, and then came back and measured and set this one, and we confirmed it was going to be not too much of a gap between the house and the post. So like right now we're at like 1.5 inches, so that's great. That's no more than the spacing in the pickets. And then once we put this section in, you'll see that it's spaced out perfectly for 10 pickets and 11 1 3/4 inch spacing. So I'll show you that on a panel. Like right now we got almost 50 inches. If you take a look at one of these panels, just as an example, it goes from our space here all the way 50 inches would be right up on the edge of that picket, so that post would be right there. So it works out to be an exact number of pickets and the proper spacing. Why that's important though, or what's the problem? The problem if you don't map that out correctly is, one, you could have something where and this would be that your picket is like all the way up against the post or doesn't have the proper spacing, or worst case scenario, it could be that you've got too much spacing between here and the post, and then you would have to either pull a picket and have part of an exposed hole, which wouldn't look good, and too big of a gap, or you would have to rip a picket and do some kind of funky little piece up against the post, which again would look out of place and throw off your aesthetic and design of this picket fence. Okay, another important aspect of planning for setting your post is the gap at the bottom. And this is real important to a lot of people, really on both sides of things. One, either people want a decent amount of gap here for maintenance, weed eating, maybe even water flow, But more often than not, people have pets and are concerned with pets either getting out underneath or digging out. And that's the case here. They have, I believe it's some beagles, but some smaller-ish dogs that they don't want to get out or dig out. So we strategically planned our post setting in order to keep this bottom rail close to the ground. So we've mapped this out and set our post to try to keep at either 2 inches or less below this fence once these rails go in. All right, what's up guys? Hey, we're here on site in Sherwood. So what you see behind me is some white vinyl privacy fence posts that were just set on Friday. This was an old, just dilapidated wood privacy fence, and they did have some existing white vinyl on the back. So we pulled out the old wood fence and got post set and everything in, and I'm gonna walk you through the steps of getting a vinyl privacy fence put in and show you what we got going on here. So I'm gonna walk through the steps. One is setting our post, and then 2 is putting our U-channel on and prepping for our privacy sections. Then it's installing the rails, installing the picket, and then installing the top rail, and then you end up with this finished vinyl privacy fence. So come with me and check it all out. Okay, so you can see here on this side, we're here on the left side of the house, that we got our post set. We've actually got post set for a gate right here, so you need a plan for whatever gates and openings that you need. But first, when we got here on Friday, we removed all this old wood privacy fence, and then we strung our lines and got everything lined out and dug and set these posts. If you remember from previous videos, we've talked about the difference between setting vinyl posts compared to setting, say, like wood, steel, or chain link, because all the work and effort goes into setting the vinyl post on the front end, because we have to get those at the exact elevations and the exact spot, since they have these pre-routed holes that everything fits into. So you can see all of this is lined up with the ground to be just a certain amount off the ground, and then the top is lined up to flow real nicely. So you can see how I've got all these lined up and in place and ready to go. So this morning we got here, started laying out some material. I'll show you on the other side. We've gotten a little bit further where we attach our U-channel and start putting some sections in. All right, so over here you can see we're starting to put some sections in. So once we got the post set, first thing we do here is attach our U-channel, which is a piece that screws in to the post between the top rail and the bottom rail, and that just gives us a pocket to put our pickets into and give a nice clean look once those rails are put in. One thing to note, you can see sometimes you'll see people not actually screw these to the post and then just slide them in on the ends of their pickets and let them float. But the issue with that is sometimes there's a little bit of shifting and movement, and then you end up getting a gap here between the post and this U-channel. So you want to watch that. You want to always make sure and screw your U-channel to your post. And then next you put in your bottom rail. All right, you can see here we put in a section with our bottom rail, and then Hyro's crimping the ends. So in order to put those in, or before you put them in, use that crimping tool to crimp the rails, which gives you this little notch that once you slide the rail in, it holds it in place. And once we got it crimped, just start one in, slide it in past, and then slide it back into the other side. You got it ready. Then from there, once you got your U-channel and your bottom rail, then you're ready to start putting your pickets in there. And let's check out these pickets. You can see these pickets they're a 6-inch wide picket, but then they've got a tongue and a groove on there. So when they fit in those rails, that tongue and groove fits in and gets a nice tight finish, and then eliminates gaps in between those pickets. Yeah, you start on one end and just start sliding those pickets in. Once you got all your pickets in there, sometimes you got to cut to fit at the end and slide in the U channel. Then you got to place your top rail, get it started over, get it started in the post end. Slides right on there. Slide it back into the other side. And you got a full complete section. Okay, so we're working on that end there, but you can see here for a complete section, you got your bottom rail, you got your U channel here that gives a nice good transition and cover between the picket and the post, and then you got your top rail on there. I did forget it first, and then the very last thing we'll do is we'll glue a cap on all these posts, and there you go, you got a completed vinyl privacy section. So just a note, not all vinyl privacy is created equal. We really do believe that this routed system, meaning where the post routed or have holes where the rails integrate with those and then the pickets integrate into the rails, is the best and strongest system. There are some out there where they bracket or screw to the post and then the pickets are screwed or clipped, you know, to the outside or one side of the rail, and those just aren't as durable and strong. Another note is the size of this rail you see. So there's different sizes of these rails. This one is the largest and most durable that you can get. This is actually, I'll show you here, an 8-inch. So that's an 8-inch rail, and it's 1 3/4 wide. You can see also it's reinforced with the ribs in between, and it has a good nice pocket for your pickets. But just something to consider, this this size of this rail is what is carrying the load between posts, so the durability of it goes a long way in which rail that you choose. So this is one of the larger options with the 8 by 1 3/4. There are some that are like a 7-inch, like a 1 3/4 or 2-inch by 7, and then there's a real common one of 1.5 by 5.5, but it's quite a smaller rail and typically would require some kind of metal reinforcement, especially in the bottom, if you went with a smaller rail on the vinyl privacy like this. So just things to consider when planning your vinyl fence project. What's up, guys? Hey, we're out here in West Little Rock at a new development where we've got some 3-rail vinyl fence going in, and we want to talk through the uniqueness of a vinyl install, and so that you could watch along and see if your vinyl fence is being installed correctly. So here we've got a little over 950 feet of a tan 3-rail vinyl fence that we're going in. This is a new home that's being built. This is actually a development. This is going to be a gated development. We're going to be doing actually some gates and automation coming into this road here. But this is going to be a new residence with a perimeter fence here. There's 4 of us out here today. We've been helping dig. We've got our main 2 guys that are setting posts over here. And we'll set all these posts today. We'll let the concrete set up over tomorrow, and then we'll be back Friday to run the rails. So a few days we'll have this from start to finish completed and be good to go. This property is unique. If you can tell by the weather, it's super overcast. But yeah, the weather has definitely been a challenge. This is actually our 2nd or 3rd time, Brad, of trying to get out here. 3rd time of trying to do this install. We've been rained out a couple times, and then the radar showed clear this morning, and then we show up and it was raining again. But thankfully not bad enough that we couldn't continue on and get these posts set. But with that, it has caused some issues with this install.
What happened? Picked the bag up from the bottom and it split in half on me.
If you've built fences for very long, then you've fixed some ruts before. All right, so with this vinyl, I was gonna walk through a few components and what we got going on here, and what makes it a little bit different than, say, versus a wood or steel or chain link fence. So right here is one of our posts. This is what we call a 3-rail, so there's gonna be rails, and we'll show you here in a little bit, that go through here at these 3 spots. This is a tan color, so there's different colors, white, tan, there's even some darker colors, some mocha, and all kinds of different colors, but white and tan are definitely the most common colors in the vinyl that you'll see. So this could apply to any vinyl fence, like a privacy, horizontal. There's all different kind of styles, but the process with setting vinyl post and installing vinyl will be similar on those. So if you can see this is what we would call a line post, because it's got holes routed on each side. So that rail is gonna pass through that and keep going down the line there. As you see, we've got all our posts set out. We got our holes dug this morning and the dirt cleaned out of them. This string line represents the line that we're gonna level this post up to. And so that string line is gonna be the outer edge of all of these posts as they get set. And then you can see faintly a white mark here on the ground. And when we're setting all this out or laying all this out, we run our string line, and then we use a tape measure and measure out the distance of every post. So this mark actually represents the center of the post. What we would call, we're marking them center to center. And whenever they come to set this post, they're gonna line up the middle of this post with that white mark, and then level it up with the string and keep on going that way. That's something to keep in mind. A lot of these vinyl sections are 8-foot sections. As you see here, these are 8-foot sections. And we'll look at the rails that go in here. They actually come in 16-foot rails, so they pass through from like one post through 2 sections to cover 2 sections there. But there are different styles that may be like a 6-foot section, 8-foot section. Those can vary, and then you would vary your post spacing with that. To contrast, like the line post, this would be a corner here. So it's got holes on these 2 adjacent sides to make a corner, so we can accommodate that. There's also 3-way post. If you had a post where you had a line going all 3 ways, it would have a hole routed going out that way, which we have one over there on that side. That's another thing with the vinyl. You've got to plan out and map out what type of post you have and have them cut specifically to that layout. And then obviously when you're putting them in the ground, that they're in the right spots to accommodate which way the fence is going. With this vinyl, it's something we do a lot of. Speaking to the uniqueness of it, it's kind of flip-flop the process of like what you'd say for like a wood or steel or chain link. With those types, the post setting is very important and you want your spacing correct, but it's not as imperative on the heights. You can just actually get the post set and then you come back later and trim them. The vinyl is not like that at all, and so that is something to watch, especially if you got somebody saying, yeah, I can do vinyl, just to know that they're familiar with this process and they're doing it correctly, because the problem is with those pre-cut holes, that determines where your rails or your sections are going to go. So if you don't get the post set correctly, then you're either gonna end up with a very bad looking fence, but 2 would be the potential of just having to rip all this out and reset if you're not lining up your post and getting your tops correct as you're setting. All right, so we're kind of working section at a time. We've got, actually you can see some back there that we are setting, we've already lined out. Then from this corner down to here, we've got them just dry set. So the concrete's in there and they're level, but you can see they're gonna take those little clips and run a top line from that corner and here, and then get those 2 essentially endpoints to the correct height and where they want to go, and then use that string as a guide to either lower or raise the post in the middle, so they're all following, once it's done, we're all following that line and it's all straight and level and flowing. Like we talked earlier, it's not going to be perfect as far as with the ground. We're going to try to flow, but we're shooting for about 14 inches from that bottom rail down to the ground. So that's what we're checking here. And then you can see kind of how this is, it's higher there on the corner and it kind of slopes down this way. So we're wanting to make a kind of a gradual, just a flow with that, so that everything looks nice and is transitioning well. So he's checking now kind of that transition coming off of the hill and where we want to be, and then to be able to come and kind of smooth out here to continue this line out. Because again, like we talked in some of our previous videos, your eye is going to see the top of that fence, so it's really important that that flows well. You can that's one of the big things when you see a DIY or homeowner fence. Sometimes one of the biggest I guess clues to me is that you'll see a fence that's going up and down. It's following every little change in the ground, and the top has no flow to it. It's just going up and down, and that's what we're trying to avoid there, to have some flow and a good line of sight going along the top of that fence. So then there, yeah, they're clipping the string at the very top of the post of where they want it to be. And then you can see there, we're actually hammering some down to meet the line, and then there'll be, you can see like the low one, a few from them will actually come up to the line and get it all lined out. I mean, like there you can see when you got one low, we'll come up a little bit and then try to kind of push it down so that that concrete gets down below that post and holds it where it needs to be. But yeah, they're just continuing to adjust those. But you can see how these that we've done, we're just getting them right to where they line up exactly with the top of that string, and then it's going to get them all lined out and flowing well. All right, so you can see these posts that we just saw them set, and looking at how they're lined out and how straight and how they flow, that they've got that. And that's the importance of running that top line and setting these correctly, because make no mistake about it, if you don't do this part correctly on the vinyl, then best case, you got a crappy looking fence. Worst case, you're actually starting over, pulling post, having to do the whole thing over. We went through the post setting and the importance of that. We've actually got some of these posts that we set with quick set this morning. Typically on the normal concrete, we give it a whole day to set up, but the quick set we got ready so that we can actually run some of these rails and give y'all an idea of that process and let you see what the finished product looks like. So let's go run some rails and get these buttoned up. All right, so these rails are vinyl like the post. So we talked, those posts are routed or cut out to receive these rails. Same way like on a privacy vinyl as well. The top and bottom or mid rails, they slide into the post, but you see these we call them crimps, but it's kind of like a crimp or a little ear that is pre-made into these ends. If we have to cut one, we've got a crimping tool. I'll show you that. Essentially what this does is this slides into the hole in the post, and then that holds it from popping back out. We'll start with these and go here with these posts we got set. This one here, it's got a little bit of a slope. So these are 16-foot rails, so they'll typically cover 2 sections and we'll run all the way through. But this one being sloped, we'll actually have to cut it so that we can follow that slope. The other thing is these go center of post to center of post. So a way to check our measurement of how long the rails are is, instead of having to try to guess exactly where center is, you can measure from inside of one post to the outside of this post, and that'll give you your center to center measurement. So here we'll get a measurement and cut these rails to fit. All right, so 97.5. Do that next one. All right, then on these, on the cut sections, we'll cut them, and I'll show you how we crimp. Grab our crimpers there. We're gonna do like the factory ones are. I'll do 2 on each side. That just notches that. Flip it. Notches that. It's best to work from the bottom up so you don't get in the way of each other. You're always wanting to work toward the open post and back into the post, which both these sides are open right now. But as you get rails in or sections in, you want to start going toward the open post so you got the full width or distance of this post to go in and then slide back. So we'll just slide it in there. Brad's rag. All right. It's like we were talking earlier, now we've got actually fence in here, so we want to always work toward the open side and then back toward this way to give us room to slide those rails in. Just sometimes they get like, if you need to pop it in or it's getting hung up, if you just bump the post one way or the other, it'll help it slide. There you go. That's the way you do it. We should be able to do this full 16-foot board against these 2, but we're gonna just use this to check. So if we go inside of that post to see if it's within the outside of this post, so it's right on the outside, so it's perfect. So we can go ahead and run these. This will start at the middle post, pass it through, and then come back this way. We're watching to make sure when we slide these in, then we slide it back enough to where that end of that rail's in the center of that post, and we've got enough room to come back with our next section. All right, so that's pretty much it. The only thing we'll put caps on here. We'll glue some caps on top of the post, and this is mainly for just property delineation. But so there's not gates in this area, but if there are gates, this is the time we'd hang the gates. But that gives you an inside look of the correct process of setting and installing a vinyl fence. Make sure to like this video, it helps us out a ton, and subscribe to the channel for more fences just like this.